This episode is brought to you by Marqeta. When it comes to your payments provider, you can't afford to compromise. Marqeta's modern payment solutions flex with your business without the trade-offs. Stable and agile, secure and innovative, scalable and configurable. If they say you can't have it all, don't believe them. Your business demands more. Choose a payments provider that delivers more. Choose Marqeta. Visit marqeta.com/Spotify to learn more.
Most people would probably say, good enough. I'm feeling pretty good. I don't need to worry about more.
It just becomes irrelevant because you're like, I'm good. Protein timing is something people argue about when they aren't actually doing anything. They're just trying to find reasons to continue not doing something. Welcome back to the show. I'm Meredith, one of your hosts. Whether you're crushing early morning workouts, hitting the gym after work, doing our tactic program, or squeezing in daily runs to clear your head, this episode's for you. We're going back to the basics. Again, this is the second back to basic episode, and we're going to talk about something that every active person needs, but often overlooks, and it's nutrition. If you work out, whether it's lifting, running, cycling, group fitness, or maybe you're just really active at work, you're putting in effort, but is your food even supporting your performance, your recovery, and overall energy levels? Is it something that's moving you closer to your goals, or just making your life harder and more complicated than it needs to be? We're going to break down exactly what your body needs, the roles of carbs, proteins, and fats, when to eat around workouts, what micronutrients actually matter, and whether or not you really need all those supplements that are hanging out in your gym bag. No fluff, no crash diets, just real practical guidance to help you feel stronger, train smarter, and recover better. So grab a snack and let's dive into it.
Okay, so I know this episode is about nutrition, and we're going to get into that in a big way. But if you're new here, we also do podcasts on training and competing and, really any life stuff. Meredith and I talk about our relationship sometimes. But I really want to gush about something.
Is it me?
No, it's not.
Is it the kitten?
No, but I think the kitten just farted.
She's been doing that.
It smells like poo over here.
That's been something she's been doing.
She has nasty farts. And you can't even prepare yourself because they don't make noise.
No. So like all of a sudden you just have this furry thing and you're like, but it smells like literal poo.
I know.
Yeah.
Like really bad farts.
Yep.
Okay. I actually called you right after I got out of the pool yesterday because I was so excited about it. But with swim club, which I've been doing for a year now, it was paused in the summer because they don't have swim club in the summer. I have been swimming with a group once to twice a week, and we do various workouts each week. But on the beginning of each month, we do a time trial of some kind. So typically it's 500 meters or 1,000 or 75 or something like that. 200 is one that we do. Usually no longer than 1,000, except for the 5K that you do once a year. So I've done the 5K, but the 1,000 we did, that was the first time trial I did since starting swimming with Swim Club, which was a year ago in October. And I did it in 19 minutes flat.
That was last year.
Yeah. And that was before, I knew how to swim, and I'm fairly athletic. So it wasn't like I was learning how to actually swim. 19 minutes was what I got. I have since done 3 additional 1,000 meter time trials, increasing in speed every single time. But it had been about 3 or 4 months since I've done one. And I was pretty nervous to do this 1,000 meter time trial this past Friday because I have been working so hard on my swimming, and I've changed a lot of things, like only breathing out of the left side every 2 strokes, breathing out underwater, My stroke is changing. I mean, I've fixed a lot. And I was worried about doing the 1,000 meter time trial and getting a slower time, knowing that I had put in all of this effort and I have my 70.3 in 2 weeks.
Well, don't keep us waiting.
Thankfully, my work has paid off and I completed the 1,000 meters in 17 minutes, 2 seconds. And I was pretty darn proud of that, which is over the course of a year, I would say it's a significant improvement. So October 2024, 19 minutes, beginning of February, 18:10, May 8th, 17:48, October 11th, 17:02.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a, 11% improvement?
Yeah. I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And I don't really know much about swimming, but I do know that I'm getting faster and feeling more confident in the pool. And it's kind of fun to see your like hard work pay off. But I thought it was interesting that I almost didn't want to do the 1,000 meter time trial. Like I didn't want to know if I was getting better because of the potential that I wouldn't have gotten better. You know what I mean? And I think that's true for a lot of people.
I think there's like an anxiety that comes up with testing, especially if it's something you're a little less familiar with. Mm-hmm. Like obviously running, you get a pretty good sense of kind of where you're at through training and how things feel. Swimming's a tough one though.
Swimming's tough because you can't look at your watch every few minutes and see how you're doing. You have to go by feel. Mm-hmm. You have to like push as hard as you can for the distance, but also not give up technique because skill is such an important component.
Yeah.
It's tough. So you're swimming, you think you're trying hard, but it's totally possible that you could be going so slow.
Yeah, because swimming's like that thing. Most people, if they don't spend time on technique, it's not a linear increase. Like even people who are just bad at running, if you try harder, you tend to move faster. Like it's somewhat linear. Swimming's not that way, not for humans. So a lot of times people will feel like they're trying harder, but all they're doing is just being like increasingly more and more inefficient in the water and expending more energy. When actually you're like, look, like you're not gonna be able to go that much faster. So you should just chill and save some energy for whatever it is that you have going on next. Like if you're doing a triathlon, that's pretty good advice. Like don't go out there and smoke yourself just to make yourself feel like you're trying hard, you know?
Yeah. I think it also confirmed what we preach all the time on this podcast and just in life. And that's consistency pays off. It's not like I've been swimming 4 or 5 times a week, which someone told me. They were like, you need to be swimming a lot to actually improve at it. And I'm like, I don't like swimming that much, so I don't want to do it 4 or 5 times a week. So I asked somebody else, I'm like, how many times do you think I need to swim per week to actually improve? And they're like, well, how many are you doing now? And are you improving? And I was, yeah, then keep doing that. 1 to 3 times a week over the course of how many weeks are in a month or in a year? 52 weeks. I mean, I barely missed. I don't think there was maybe 1 or 2 weeks I didn't swim at all. But for the most part, it was 1 to 3 times, usually 2. It adds up. That's 100 swims.
Yeah, especially if you're being intentional with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that matters too.
Yes.
You're not just going in there and putting in time. It's paying attention to little technical things that you can improve and practice and changing things that have an impact on efficiency and speed, because that's huge with swimming. So I think anyone can get a little faster with time spent doing anything, but you can get faster for less work if you're intentional with the time that you do put in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's with everything, you know, even strength and conditioning programs. If you're just going into the gym and doing something every day, but not really keeping track of what it is, or maybe just jumping around programs, like, yeah, you'll get fitter, but you will not get fitter as fast as you can if you were to follow a more like progressive and like intentional program.
Yeah, which I do. Like I'm doing most of the same drills each week, building on each drill. If I were to have done a random swim workout every single time I went to the pool, where I like have no idea what my pace or my efforts are, like these were progressive swim workouts with progressive skill work and that sort of thing. So I think that is an important note.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty proud of myself.
Yeah. It's a good feeling. I remember before meets, that same feeling. It's different because you're swimming like one event and it's not 1,000 meters. I mean, for high school programs, you're swimming between 50 and 200. That's where like most of the event distances are. So short, but it's like running. It's like a sprint. You do this training that looks a lot different than the test that you're going to take, than the event that you swim. So you don't know, like you're just on the blocks with all these people who you don't train with. You don't see them. So you have no idea how fast they are. And it's just like, take your mark, go. And then it's just like this like noise and then quiet because you're underwater.
Yeah.
And then it's like you black out and then you hit the wall and you look up at the clock and you're like, huh, that's what I swam. That's amazing. I had no idea. That's pretty cool.
I think what I did when I realized we were doing the 1,000 meters, because I didn't know it was coming. We warmed up and they're like, okay, the main set's going to be 1,000 meters. And my initial response was, oh, really? But then I thought, well, all I can do right now is just give it my best, do my best, try as hard as I can, which I always do in everything. And if it doesn't work out, then what's the big deal?
Yeah.
You know that you haven't gotten faster and it's information moving forward. But it comes down to just trusting that it's not even trusting, it's just doing your best and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
It's just kind of fun.
We are going to talk about nutrition on this episode. And I thought maybe a good parlay into that would be to talk about what my nutrition looked like when I was a high school swimmer.
Sure.
I'm just kidding. It was not good.
Okay.
We would go oftentimes because pool time's hard to get. It's like, I imagine ice time in Canada is like pool time in North Carolina. Anyways, we would, one of my programs, our practice was like 8:30 at night. And so we wouldn't be done until like 9:30 or 10. And we would hit the Krispy Kreme drive-thru for some, if we were lucky, hot donuts, which honestly, like it sounds terrible, but probably not the worst thing for
a teenager swimmer.
Yeah. Doing, multiple, sometimes two a days in the pool. Not necessarily the way I would go for adults, but if that's your thing, you can probably make it work. We're all about inclusive nutrition here at Tactic Nutrition. That was bad.
Okay, quick aside, because I have to say this. I wouldn't choose a Krispy Kreme donut over something like else.
Like what?
Like another type of donut.
No, see, you're wrong.
Okay.
Like what other kind of, what type of donut?
Honestly, I would do like a powdered sugar, like dough, like a donut.
No, it's horrendous.
Okay.
You can't beat like a yeast donut that's deep fried with glazed sugar on
No,
it.
I think I can.
No. Like you're really, even just the argument for powdered sugar over glazed sugar, it completely falls apart.
Okay.
So you just
let's dive into this.
So this is a back to basics episode. We did one of these a couple weeks ago on strength and conditioning. Some just really foundational information on what is a progressive strength program. How do you design a conditioning program for runners, cyclists? How do you combine those two? Can you? We answered some or spoke to some common misconceptions and then gave some tips on how to put all those pieces together. So if that's of interest to you, you can go listen to that. And then today's episode, we're going to speak to kind of the nutrition side of things for active individuals. So people who are doing some amount of training. So this doesn't mean like professional athlete or someone who's training, 20 hours a week or something like that. But this is, for people who value working out, value movement, and want to optimize their nutrition for health, but also to support their performance. So, nutrition basics, back to basics for people who, work out kind of regularly. It's not complicated. Some of the most common struggles that we'll get into, like not knowing what to eat before and after a workout. And honestly, like this is one that people get hung up on that I feel like they shouldn't. This is like the question that I'm like, it's like one thing. Like, let's look at the whole day. And people are like, but what should I eat before and after?
Like, all I want to say is whatever you want.
Yeah. And like, what do you mean? I'm like, whatever you want, actually. So we're going to talk about that. I mean, there definitely are still best practices, but there's always like, the theory and then what's doable. And so we always want to try to like work to that point. We'll talk about protein because that's another one that people just really get stuck on.
I mean, would we even be a nutrition podcast if we didn't talk about protein?
We have to talk about protein, but we will make it number one. And we'll get into some maybe supplement talk, some micronutrient stuff like that. So we already kind of spoke to what active means in nutritional terms, but active really can mean that like you are doing enough of something to need to eat beyond what your base metabolic rate is. I mean, active could just be someone who maybe doesn't even work out, but they have like an active job.
Which would be someone who you could think active is like construction work, but also someone who's a nurse or a teacher would also be considered active.
Mm-hmm. On your feet a lot, standing for multiple hours a day, hairdressers, serving staff at restaurants, all active. And honestly, like a great way to work and like that activity counts. I think a lot of people, they think, oh, I don't work out. I'm like, what do you mean? You're like on your feet for 10 hours a day. If you eat to support that, like you're going to be in great shape.
I heard or read somewhere, and I'm so sorry, I have no idea where it was, but I heard that someone did some sort of study or interviewed someone who was a janitor, and they couldn't lose weight.
Yeah.
And they were told that I think they were cleaners at a hotel. And when they shifted their mindset about their activity to include work as activity, like actual active activity that contributed to their health and wellness,
Yep.
They, as a byproduct, improved their mindfulness and decisions around nutrition and ended up improving their health and losing weight.
I mean, it makes sense because the way that you see that type of thing, that's one of those things that just orients a lot of other decisions and a lot of other habits. And we talk about that all the time. And that's why we did the training one first. And we spoke about that on that podcast was the way that changes the way that people look at themselves in their lives.
Yeah. I mean, I have, not to just talk anecdotal here, but I have some clients that often find themselves making different decisions at a evening dinner around food or alcohol, knowing that they're going to have a good workout the next day.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is, more broadly too, the way that a lot of people treat nutrition and dieting is they really start to pay attention to it when they have something coming up. Either they have a race or a competition, or they have a physical goal that they're pursuing. And it's like, okay, there's some understanding that nutrition plays a role, but then those things kind of, they go away, or maybe they're, it's not race season. And so there's nothing really on the calendar in the next 6 months or so. And so people kind of stop paying attention to nutrition. So nutrition becomes a cyclical focus where you're kind of on or off. Like you're either extremely focused on it or you're not focused on it at all. Like that's kind of a pattern that people can get into. When really there's just so much value in finding that middle ground where you can be tuned into nutrition, but you're not being extreme about it. Like maybe if you track your macros, or you're not tracking your macros. But just because you're not tracking your macros doesn't mean that you're throwing in the towel for paying attention to nutrition and your choices and things like that as they relate to your values and goals and things. So, because I mean, for most people, most of the year is going to be spent away from goals. Mm-hmm. And so we want to find, how do we live with food, for 265 days of the year, and not just the 100 days that we're paying attention to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean.
You know what I mean? So active means active. It means exactly what it sounds like. It means everyday gym goers, runners, cyclists, weekend warriors, people with active jobs, cleaners, servers, ranchers. Are you active? Yes or no? Don't judge your exercise routine when you answer that question. So, when we look at numbers, there are some acronyms that get thrown around commonly. So base metabolic rate, BMR, is one that a lot of people will have heard before. And that, I think people confuse BMR with TDEE. you know, in TEF, in ABCDE.
Yeah.
No, TDEE is another one. So is TEF, but TDEE is total daily energy expenditure. And what that is inclusive of, so you can kind of like, that's a pie chart. And within the pie chart, there's BMR, that's base metabolic rate. There's
Which is
essentially the amount of energy required for you to just do your basic human functions. Like if you sat on the couch all day and did literally nothing, not even eat, that's BMR.
and that changes based on size.
It changes, like bigger people have a higher base metabolic rate. People with higher lean body mass have a higher base metabolic rate. There are some inflection points across the lifespan where you see base metabolic rate change a little bit. So at year 1 of life, you see it change. At year 20, you see it change again. And then it doesn't really change until age 65. So, and then after you, like 65 or older, you typically see about a 13 calorie per year reduction in base metabolic rate. So that's like 2 M&Ms. It's not like people always kind of say, oh, well, you get into your 40s and your metabolism just goes in the toilet. No, not really. It actually doesn't change at all when you control it for lean mass. And so this is, again, like language can be really confusing, especially the English language where we just straight up do not have enough words. So like metabolism and metabolic rate are not really the same thing. So metabolic rate is not inclusive of, not controlled for lean body mass. Your lean body mass is not controlled for. And that's a huge determining factor. But when you take your base metabolic rate and you control for lean body mass, which means that I can compare myself to someone who's larger than me, smaller than me, who has more muscle mass than me or less. It's a way to compare 1-to-1. So when you do that across a huge swath of people, so now we're making it statistically significant by collecting a lot of data. When you do that, you see that, there's no difference in people, in age, except for these like inflection points.
So someone who's sitting here and thinking, that's bullshit. I'm 60 and I definitely can't eat the way that I used to when I was 30. Let's explain that just real quick, because I think this is something that people have asked us before and been ticked hearing. And I think what you're saying is when you say lean body mass is controlled for, that's a really important point here, because at 30, arguably, you not only have more lean body mass, or maybe most people would, than at 65, but at 65, you are older. So your base metabolic rate hasn't changed.
At 60.
Yeah. Sorry. But the amount you move during the day might change because you're older. You're not doing as much. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you can't work out as hard. Like there's all of these things, these other contributing factors.
Yeah.
But it's not actually your metabolism.
Correct. Yeah. And remember that like BMR is only one part of the pie chart. So you might have, like that can all be true. Even if someone had the same lean body mass that they did when they were 30, which is also possible, or even higher. For like, let's say someone at age 30 is a runner, and so they're smaller, they're running, and I'm not talking about like ultra runner. I'm talking like recreational runner. That's what they do for exercise. They run, I don't know, 30 miles a week, 20 miles a week, something like that. Not crazy, but that's what they do. So they don't have a lot of lean body mass on account of that.
Because they're also not strength training.
Right. They're not breaking records. Like they're just recreational. That's what they're doing at age 30. So let's take that same person and because they're running, they're not moving around a lot in the rest of their day. They're just sort of like, well, I run, so I'm going to sit, which is like also really common. Mm-hmm. And so let's take that person and age them up to age 55. And let's say that at age 48, because they're like, shoot, I'm getting a little older. I want to change some things. So let's say age 45. Let's give them 10 years. Let's say they started running at age 20 and they ran through their 20s and to 30, whatever. And then at 45, they're like, I'm going to prioritize strength training. So let's say that they're at age 45, they've put on 45 to 55. By the time they get to 55, they've put on 10 pounds of lean body mass, which is not out of the realm of possibility at all. They've stopped running, but they've also started moving more during the day. So they don't run as much, but they walk now and they strength train. And even though they're 25 years older, where everyone would say like, your metabolism's going to be in the shit. You're not going to be able to eat as much as you used to. They're not only able to eat as much as they used to, but they're actually eating more because they need more. Mm-hmm. See what? And
they would need more if they were sitting on the couch all day.
Yeah. Like their base metabolic rate at age 55 would be higher than it was at 30 on account of they've changed the way that they're training and put on 10 pounds of lean mass.
And the fact that they're 20 years older, 25 years older does not make a difference except for, I guess, nothing.
Nothing.
Then.
Zero.
Yeah.
No impact. Even at 65, like play that out another 10 years.
13 calories per year.
Oh no. No difference, right?
That's it. At 75 or 70, mm-hmm. you will arguably, if nothing else changes, have to eat to maintain your body weight 130 calories less.
Yeah. No, even less than that, actually. You're like 65 calories. 13 calories a year, that's 5 years. So 12 times.
Oh, I was thinking 10.
Yeah. So, and I think that's a really important point. And the reality is for most people, that's reversed. So people do tend to be more active in their younger years, in their 30s. They do tend to carry more muscle mass when they're younger, and like often activity declines when you get a little older for a lot of reasons. And so you see lean body mass drop, activity levels go down, stress increases because life's hard. And all of these factors mean that, even if you're eating the exact same amount that you used to, your needs are going down. And so you kind of like inadvertently create a calorie surplus without changing anything. And you hear that all the time. Like, I haven't changed anything. And like, I know you haven't. Or at least you're not aware of the things that you have changed.
You haven't intentionally changed anything.
Right. You haven't changed anything with your diet. And that's the whole truth, right?
Yeah.
So, that's in the weeds on BMR and metabolic rate. But what you need to understand, there are a lot of things that contribute to calorie needs. And remember, like as rudimentary as it is to say like calories in, calories out, that's the best we have. And it's the truth. Like, that's how you balance the equation. There are a lot of things that impact the calories that we expend and that we need. Mm-hmm. And so it's both simple and very complicated. But just know, like, there's nothing that is inherent to you, like your metabolism, that's like distinctly out of your control, that's causing this. And that should feel empowering. Like, that should not feel like an attack to hear. That should feel like great news. And also worth saying, I guess let's pause here because people who are in perimenopause might be screaming at their phones. This doesn't mean that doesn't have an impact. And so I think we need to also be able to decouple the hormonal system of the body and the metabolic system of the body, because they're not related. Even though the hormonal system of the body can impact someone's desire to get into the gym, how much they want to move around,
how much they sleep,
how much they sleep. The hormones can impact the pie chart without having anything at all to do with metabolism.
It can also, I'll just point this out real quick, even though that's not the topic. It also impacts fat patterns. So where you hold your fat.
Correct.
So you might think like, well, my pants don't do up anymore.
Yeah.
But maybe you still weigh the same, or maybe you are in a calorie surplus, but you're just holding body fat in a more sensitive place to you.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of factors.
And we did a whole episode on cortisol a while back. You can search for that. And we talk specifically about the body fat patterning and kind of how that plays into it. So, that was a rabbit hole.
I loved it though. I think it's an important one.
TDEE includes base metabolic rate, can be influenced by hormones, also includes non-exercise activity, exercise activity, which is a very like a surprisingly small sliver of the pie for most people, Exercise doesn't actually increase your calorie needs that much. It includes thermic effect of food. So there's a cost to eating food from an energy standpoint. You have to digest it. Fiber is hard to digest, so is protein. So typically you see with higher fiber diets, more protein in the diet, more energy is required to digest that food. And it's not insignificant. That is not an insignificant number. And what else is in there? That's kind of it. That's the pie chart. Yeah. I think it's hugely important to eat enough, like to think of this as like fueling, like even if your goals are weight loss or whatever, if you can shift into the mindset of like, I want to feed myself what I need. We want to focus on fueling and not under eating. That's like a huge mental shift to get into, especially if you're exercising. And it is so common for people to combine the goal of weight loss with exercise, and that just like immediately involves nutrition. And so the knee-jerk reaction is for people who are off the couch is like, well, I'm going to exercise and diet and then I'll reach my goals. And it's like, probably not. But if you can shift that and you can think, I'm going to exercise and I'm going to eat the right amount for that exercise, now you can start making progress towards those goals, even if it feels like, so you're telling me I need to eat, but I've been told for years that I don't,
Yep.
Goddamn diet industries.
I know.
Problematic.
But slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Those thoughts, those values, those beliefs, they don't go away quickly.
No.
It's not as easy as just shifting your mindset to like, oh, okay, I'll just fuel for my workouts and eat like cereal before bed so that I can feel great the next day when I go for my run.
Yeah.
Like that's not an easy switch for a lot of people to make. But over time, with enough intention, you can slowly but surely shift some of those mindsets and then actions and the behaviors. And then with that, you see the benefit, you see the changes, and then it's really just the best slippery slope that could ever be.
Look, and I think it's so hard to not just talk about training here, because like it's so important. But I think once people can start to understand that the results they're after are going to come from training and not from diet. I mean, it's like combined, but like the results that most people are after are results that are built in the gym. And so if the diet and nutrition can support the gym, you'll get there so much faster, even if there's a period of discomfort. Because a lot of people, when they start putting on muscle, guess what doesn't happen right away? Fat loss. So they're like, I don't know, I just feel like I'm kind of getting bigger, because you are, right? Like that's going to happen. So there has to be like a tiny amount of tolerance for that very uncomfortable season of life. But I'm telling you, like once you can get to that point, you see it, and you see it with men, with like bodybuilders all the time. And people are like, well, that's because they're men. Hush it. It works the exact same way for women. It actually does. And there's research that shows that women just aren't as tolerant, and it's not as socially acceptable to be in bulking season. You know what I mean? But like what those guys are doing, and the reason why it works so well is they're putting on that like layer of body fat, but they're also like piling on muscle mass. And then it's so much easier for them when they're like, I think I'll get shredded now, to just like cut back a little bit, to reduce their calorie intake a little bit. And because their muscle mass is so much higher, it kind of just melts off.
Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't even require a cut.
No.
And it can happen more slowly. Like you just put somebody on maintenance to support muscle mass and adaptation to the gym. And then you gain muscle. And then because your muscle is so much more metabolically demanding, you're burning more calories at rest.
Yeah.
And you keep everything the same with nutrition. Then all of a sudden, and you keep working at the gym, you're providing the stimulus to maintain muscle or keep growing it. And then what does your body burn?
Body fat.
Body fat.
Because you're stressing it out so much in the gym in a good way, that it's like, well, we need this muscle mass. So we're not going to let that go, because something's happening here and we're in danger.
So you could create a calorie deficit without reducing your food volume or calorie intake, which feels good. Because cutting out food for people sucks.
Horrible.
I mean, I don't like to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fun or good for anyone. And it certainly hurts performance and sleep and your mood and your relationships, speaking from experience. But yeah, it's like, why wouldn't you do it like that?
Yeah, that same line, like, well, I haven't changed anything, and look what is happening. That can be true for look, I'm shredded now. It goes the other way too. I hope people aren't just like screaming at us. It does. You just have to try it. Like, if this is upsetting to hear, it's because you haven't done it.
And sometimes it helps. It does help to have an idea of how much you're eating. And then we'll get into it sometimes. Like, of course, the macro breakdown can be somewhat important as well.
Yeah.
So while the gym is really important, that like secondary layer of supporting that with nutrition, obviously we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Makes a difference. So there's some sort of like awareness there helps.
And this isn't happening in a month. This is also over a period of time. So take a breath. Let's talk about macronutrients and what they do and why they're important.
Love it.
You want me to go? You go.
Okay, carbs. It's gonna be a quick overview.
Yeah.
Carbs, primary energy source for workouts, your body's preferred fuel source.
Literally.
So when people say I'm gonna eat peanuts on my run, I'm like, don't. Get some dried mango or something. You want carbs for energy. Best pre and post workout carb options.
I mean, this is like, there's a really easy rule of thumb. If you have one workout per day, whatever, just like think about your workout, where it is in your day. The closer to the workout, the more simple the carbs need to be. The further away from the workout, the more complex the carbs need to be. And that's to support both performance and health, because you don't want to eat only simple carbs, because you want a variety of fiber. That's good for gut health and digestive health and preventing lots of types of gastrointestinal cancers. Not great around a workout. Fiber is not a good pre or post workout carb option because it takes a long time to digest. That's like the whole point.
Yeah.
It's good for sustained energy. It's not good for like, I need a little bump in energy right now. You want simple carbs around your workout. So let's think complex carbs would be like beans, whole grains, fruits, vegetables.
That's kind of it.
That's it. Yeah. Brown rice, quinoa, farro.
Apples, sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes are complex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody said that they weren't the other day, but they have lots of fiber, so you have to be a little careful.
Simple foods does not equal sign simple carbs.
Right.
In fact, it's usually the opposite.
Yeah.
So more simple carbs would be white rice, pasta, not whole grain, candy,
Juices.
Juice
is like fruit, but stripped of the fiber and the volume.
Correct. Sports nutrition, carb supplements, Gatorade, things like that. So more like straight up sort of sugary, simple carb options.
Yeah, dried fruit.
Yeah. But watch the dried fruit because you can get into some fiber there as well.
Yeah, and watch out for prunes.
Prunes are a trap. Never prunes. Protein. So this is the one that gets all the attention these days. There's so much online. I saw this one, there's like a meme, and it was like white people's current obsession, like protein. If someone told y'all that protein was in the dirt, people out there be eating dirt. 100%. Protein is super important. We don't need to be eating like an astronomical amount of it. Like I've seen people eating like 200 grams of protein a day for women, for small people. I'm like, that's not necessary. There's like a point at which it's diminishing returns. It's not harmful. I mean, it may give you like a harmful amount of gas if you're like in a relationship, but it's not a like intelligent use of calories. So, super important for muscle repair and recovery, like neurological function. And, it sends a lot of signals to your body too. So there's like a protective mechanism. Like you think about muscle as like, it's functional in what it does, but it is also where your body stores amino acids and protein. So when people start talking about aging, there is a protective element to muscle mass, and it's partially because like muscle, like the loss of muscle is a natural part of aging, but when you lose muscle, your body is using amino acids, and they're kind of starting to like draw correlations to brain health, which we know, like their amino acids are super important for cognitive function, but you're kind of also like your muscle mass is your amino acid store in a way. So, yeah, very important.
The timing, we're going to myth bust.
Ooh, okay.
You can eat more than, I don't even know what people say. Let's say 30 grams in a meal of protein.
What's the myth?
That you can't.
Oh,
that at some
you can
point
only
you get
digest 30 or like digest and absorb 30 grams at a time.
Like protein timing doesn't matter as much as you think it does.
Yeah.
In fact, it matters very little. So all these studies or bro science about making sure that you're in the window of gains for protein muscle synthesis, getting protein in, like studies are showing that doesn't matter. What matters is total protein intake daily.
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to get really nitty here, so what you're looking at is really serum levels, like plasma levels of amino acids. And so what they see is that it doesn't matter if you're taking in like bolus amounts of protein during the day. So like, I don't know, 60 to 80 grams at one time, which based on bro science, people would not be able to digest, and therefore like it is irrelevant. It doesn't count. So if they're looking at bolus amounts of protein across the day versus maybe distributed evenly across 5 intakes. So let's say let's say someone's eating like 150 grams of protein a day. You have 2 bolus feedings of 80 and 70 grams compared to 3 intermittent feedings of 30 grams evenly spaced. So the hypothesis is that you would see like plasma levels of amino acids differ significantly between the bolus and the more frequent, and that just isn't the case. So it is fine to eat lots of protein at one time. You're not missing out on much. If you were to get really granular, though, when you look at one specific protein, and that protein is leucine, leucine is the one that's most important and most highly involved in muscle protein synthesis. So when you start to look at muscle protein synthesis and rates, leucine matters. And so if you can eat 2 grams of leucine per meal-ish, you tend to see optimal muscle protein synthesis rates, but it's so marginal. Like it is splitting hairs at that point. And it's one of those things where like, is that the limiting factor for you and your progress? Probably not. Like, let's dial everything else in. And then once that's there, and I'm talking like sleep, we're not drinking alcohol, we're managing stress, we're going to the gym 5 times a week, we're doing really great programming. Like once that is in place and nutrition is taken care of generally, maybe you could look at that.
Most people would probably say, good enough. I'm feeling pretty good. I don't need to worry about more.
That's the thing, is like you will get, like, it just becomes irrelevant because you're like, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, it's like protein timing is something people argue about when they aren't actually doing anything.
Yeah.
They're just trying to find reasons to continue not doing something.
Yeah.
You know, it's too hard because I can't do 30 grams a day or 30 grams per meal 5 times a day. And so therefore I'm not going to try it all.
Yeah.
Like, hush it. Get out of your own way.
Alan Aragon said the other day, I was listening to, if you want, that podcast he was on Huberman. It was pretty good. And he talked about how if you really want to optimize muscle protein.
Muscle.
Okay, I'm going to ignore you. Muscle protein synthesis post-workout, that supports eating a meal before you work out.
Correct.
Because it takes so long for your body to digest and get everything going to where it needs to go in simple terms, that you've already missed the window of gains, even if you eat immediately after your workout. So eating before allows you to have that stuff kind of in your bloodstream and digested before you work out, so that when you are finished your workout, you can optimize muscle protein synthesis. So kind of a point for eating before your workout.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about the timing of specific meals too. But there are a lot of reasons to have evenly spaced meals, because it makes things easier, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's better. We'll get into it. What else? Oh, fats, the third macronutrient. So fats are more of a long-term energy source, hugely important for hormone health. So
and for the taste of cookies.
And for the taste of like everything, to be honest.
If not for fats, then there would be no cookie.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever had like a low fat cookie, but it's like those Nutri-Grain bars. Like these are for horses.
Every time my mom makes this cookie, she's like, oh gosh, there's Crisco in these. I'm like, I don't even know what Crisco is. I don't want to know what Crisco is. I just know that these cookies can't change.
Yeah. Crisco's like plastic. Anyways, Crisco is not a healthy fat source. But we're talking about energy production, health, like good triglycerides and cholesterol and hormone support. We are talking about healthy fat intake. And so healthy fat sources, and I'm not saying saturated fat has no place in the diet. It does. There's a limit. We are talking about the poly and monounsaturated fat. So plant sources, primarily seeds, things like fatty fish. And with the fish, you're also getting some omegas, which are important for other reasons. Saturated fats tend to come from animal products. So like dairy, beef, chicken, like really like fat that is on animal meat tends to be saturated fat.
I will just quickly say that often a health professional may say, oh, your cholesterol is high, or, oh, your saturated fat intake needs to come down. You should think about cutting out dairy and animal fat. And what I want to say there is you don't need to cut out large groups of food. There are lean sources of dairy and animal meat that are low in saturated fat and still fine to eat, and in fact can contribute to a healthy, in quotes, diet, because they provide a lean protein source. Yeah. So I just want to say that, because that's something that a lot of people come with. Oh, my doctor or my health professional suggested I cut dairy out for that reason. I'm like, well, what about low fat dairy?
Yeah. Yeah. Low fat dairy, lean meat, totally fine from a saturated fat standpoint. And there is an inflection point. There's a number for most of the recommendations. It's like 20% of your total fat intake per day from saturated fat is okay. Anything higher than that, and you see an increased risk of metabolic dysfunction associated statonic liver disease, MASLD, which is the new name for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which they've changed. Which, if you didn't know they've changed, and they partially changed it because of the stigma with the word fatty liver. But also, like, it is not something that presents in people who are overweight. Like that is a condition that can present in people who are of normal weight. So, the saturated fat intake, especially when combined with a low fiber diet, is a slippery slope towards that. Fat intake can support athletic performance, certainly joint health, hormone support, definitely, but not really great for taking around or having around workouts. We don't do keto for athletes because there is literally no data to support that. Sorry.
More bro science, but not gym bro science, more like
aerobic
endurance bro science.
They're like, but you can fat adapt and then you perform better when you reintroduce carbs. And I'm like, yeah, because you weren't performing well before, period.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess let's talk a little bit about, I don't want to spend a ton of time on hydration since we just literally recorded a podcast on that. You can listen to it. It's like, go listen to it.
Yeah.
It is like water, stay hydrated. How much you drink, how many electrolytes you add is very dependent on like how much you sweat, where you live. So it's almost too nuanced to make a recommendation other than probably want to be drinking between 80 and 120 ounces of fluids per day that are not caffeinated, preferably, and may or may not want to be adding in electrolytes to that, depending on what you're doing and how much you sweat. So, some other, I guess, micronutrients really quick. Micronutrients are typically come from food, but can be supplemented. So like the ones that we would want to pay attention to for most people would be like iron is like a big one, especially for women, because you see increased rates and there's a risk of becoming anemic with especially impact sports like running. And that matters because iron is involved in transporting oxygen around the body. So when you have low iron, you typically experience fatigue or reduction in performance, and some impacts to long-term health. So you can get it in the diet: red meat, spinach, lentils, fortified grains and cereals are great. If you're doing the fortified cereals or even a supplement, taking it with orange juice, sure. Taking it with vitamin C. I was gonna say like orange juice.
Yeah.
Taking it with vitamin C really helps to boost absorption of iron. So
it can also be helpful to take with food, like if you're taking the supplement.
Yeah.
Because it can cause GI issues.
Yeah, the glycinate, the iron bisglycinate is kind of the one that people are moving to because there's less of a risk of that. But iron's one of those ones that it's like there are supplements that are okay to take if you're not sure because the risk of taking them is very low. Iron is not one of those supplements. Iron is one that, unless you're pretty sure you have an iron deficiency, you probably just want to be trusting that you're getting, like, eat foods with iron, but get labs done before you start taking an iron supplement, because it's also possible, like, to have a condition where you have too much iron in the blood, like hemochromatosis, which runs in my family. I'm a carrier for that, where you actually would be putting yourself at a huge risk to, like, liver health and joint issues and stuff if you were to start taking iron. You know how they used to, they typically how they used to treat hemochromatosis, and probably still do?
Magnets?
Bloodletting. Literally, like, you have to go get blood out of your body and have it replaced with blood that's lower on iron. I
think it kind of goes without saying that if you're unsure about any supplement, talk to your doctor before you start taking it.
For sure. Yeah. Magnesium, also super important for both health and training. It helps with muscle contraction, cramping, helps with sleep. It's also something that tends to be a little bit low in the diet, especially when you're not eating leafy greens. And then also if you live kind of where we live, where the groundwater is super high in calcium, you want to probably take a magnesium supplement, because calcium and magnesium compete a little bit.
If you're someone who gets a lot of headaches, it can also help.
Yeah, for sure. Vitamin D, if you're training outside, you're probably good to go. If you're training inside or you live in, like, a northern or southern hemisphere, it's a good one to take off season. Again,
most people are deficient in vitamin D.
Yes.
Because most people don't go outside.
Yeah. But this one also gets an asterisk. You can also get into some toxicity with vitamin D if you take too much. So be aware of that. Don't overdo it. And you can also you can do blood tests for that one as well. Calcium, super important. It's always one that's been really pushed on female athletes and on women, to prevent that, like, bone loss, osteoporosis. But we know that actually, calcium is very important. Resistance training is even more important for that. So another plug to listen to that other podcast. And then the B vitamins, which just is, like, again, very low in the Western diet and helps with red blood cells. So, like, B works really well with iron, or it helps iron work really well, because you're sort of coming at it from two different angles. So
there's a bunch of different B vitamins. So you can take a complex. Yes, your pee will be fluorescent orange or fluorescent yellow. Unless you're super dehydrated, then it's fluorescent orange. But you can also take them individually. And that can be helpful for things like sleep. B6 is kind of the contributor for sleep. Yeah. So again, you can talk to your doctor and get tested, or you can just start with a complex if you're just kind of going for a catch-all. Yeah, and if you're plant-based, like if you're vegetarian, B12 is probably, that's like a must. Okay, let's move on. Let's do meal timing and workout nutrition. Okay. Before working out, what a debate. Look, what a debate. I think you kind of have to break it down into, like, which category do you fit in? Like, yeah, there are some questions. Can you eat before you work out? That's, like, the basic one. Some people are nauseous too early in the morning. If you're working up at 5 a.m., some people don't want to eat before. Yeah. Or can't. Right. Maybe they get nauseous if they eat, even if it's something small. Yeah, so you can't, like... So that the impact to eating is higher than the benefit. Right. To you. Yeah. And so in that case, it's like maybe your before workout meal is actually like dinner the day before.
And that's kind of how I've always treated and recommended people treat that one. So what's best? Let's start with what's ideal.
I mean, based on what Alan says, and also just what a lot of studies say.
And what we say.
Alex. Even just from an overall, like, this contributes to a nutrient timing thing as well. If you're working out in the morning, we recommend eating before.
Yeah.
But if you,
well, let's not even do in the morning.
Yeah.
Let's just say someone has infinite control over when they work out, when they eat. Like, do we eat a meal before we work out? And if so, when? How many hours before?
It again depends, but probably 60 minutes, 60 to 90 minutes.
60 for a whole meal?
I could probably do a whole meal in the morning.
I usually go like, if you're eating and I'm talking like, we're eating a square ass meal.
Okay.
2 hours.
Okay. Okay. Maybe.
And then you eat again before your workout.
Yeah. Okay. That's ideal.
I know. I said what's
so ideal. If you're going to have like, protein, eggs with egg whites, ham, maybe some multigrain toast with butter and jam, and a big bowl of fruit, you're going to have that at 8 a.m. And then at 10 or 9:30, you have a carb-based snack, maybe a banana or a fig Newton. And then at 10 or 10:30, you begin your workout.
Correct.
That's ideal.
That is ideal. And if that's you and you're training for 60 to 90 minutes, you're not going to need really anything in the workout from a fueling standpoint. You get to have water and some electrolytes, whatever your favorite little noon tablet is, and you're good to go. But if that's not you, then you may have to do something a little bit differently from a pre standpoint or an intra standpoint. So these are the two that I think are most closely linked. It's like, if you can eat in an ideal way before training, probably don't need carbs during. If you can't, like, let's say that you're someone who does get up at like 4:30 to work out at 5 or 5:30. You're like, it might be, if you can get like half a banana down, you're probably doing well. So you're relying on dinner the night before. And for that person, having some carbs during training, like during that session, or even protein, like if you're doing a lifting, like a more resistance training style workout, and you can have carbs and protein during, that's phenomenal. That is such a good thing to do, especially if you can't have a meal before. But definitely like carbs during become really, really helpful if you can. And you can get ones that are easy to drink, like Gnarly or Scratch or something like that aren't like...
Tastes like juice.
It's just like...
The Gnarly one is juice. Yeah. It's so good.
The orange with the salt?
Yeah, or even if you do just the... you can actually get unflavored carb sources.
Yeah.
But even if you taking in some like fluid with electrolytes, if you could do like the orange pineapple hydrate.
Super tasty.
So good.
Yeah. That's going to help a lot with just not blasting through your glycogen stores. And then if, like I said, if you can get protein in, now you are kind of like getting ahead of the game on the muscle protein synthesis after training.
AKA recovery.
Exactly. So that's those two things. Like, you either like can have a meal or you can't. And if you can't, then you move to plan B from a workout nutrition standpoint.
I would say plan B is, and this is true regardless of when you work out, but I think more so for the morning, depending on how much time you have between waking up and when you work out, that will impact how much you eat. So if you only have an hour between wake up and the workout, then you would have a smaller meal. If you only have 30 minutes, you would have a smaller snack.
Yeah.
If you have 90 minutes, you might be able to do something closer to a full-size meal.
Yeah.
And then if you're eating, or if you're working out later in the day between the hours of, let's say, lunchtime and 8 p.m., then the ideal is similar to what we said earlier, which is your meal is 2 hours before the workout, and then you have another snack 30 minutes before you start warming up.
Yeah. And that's like, that just, it gets, you have you're digesting and getting those carbs ready to use. If you consumed fats, they're like sort of starting to get out of your digestive system, so you're not going to upset your stomach. And then you have that, like, you know, same thing with protein. You have amino acids in your blood plasma, so you're locked and loaded essentially.
Let's take, okay, so if it's really just a problem to solve and you figure out what works best for you, and sometimes it's trial and error, but let's say somebody works out at 5 p.m.
Oh yeah.
Lunch is at 12 and they can't change lunch because that's what time they have to eat based on work. So what would you do there?
Can they eat at can they have a snack at 3?
Maybe
3:30?
Yeah, you just kind of figure out what's best for your schedule.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So if you're having a full lunch I would make that lunch as big as I possibly could, number one.
Yeah.
The great thing about working out at 5 is you're going to be through that afternoon lull. So if you have a big lunch, you're probably going to feel like doo-doo around 2:30 or 3, but you'll be out of that in 90 minutes. So you'll be ripe and ready at 5. And also, like, if you do have that kind of afternoon lull, one of the best things you can do is have a meal, like a snack with some protein, not anything really big, but, you know, like a pear and some cottage cheese or something like that is great to have. And then I would assess myself. So if I know I'm going to work out at 5, I had my lunch at 12, maybe I had my snack at 3, I would at 4 just check in and how am I feeling from like a hunger standpoint and an energy standpoint? Do I feel irritable? Do I feel a stronger than normal pull away from training? Like, I would look at, sort of check in on the bio markers that might indicate that I'm a little bit deficient in calories. And if so, I would try to get my hands on something really simple to eat, some carbs. And if I feel okay, I would proceed to work out. And then as I'm working out, if I feel like I get 30 minutes into it and I hit a brick wall, I'm like, maybe I was kind of on that line and I didn't realize it. So you kind of have to observe, be willing to take notes on yourself. And this is where like knowing yourself becomes really important. But I would also have carbs in my workout for sure.
Yeah. And trial and error.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you're somebody that typically, maybe your schedule has shifted and now you have to work out after work, you figure it out by trial and error. And we help people with this. But I also will say, I read a long, long time ago, this was somebody who is more of an elite athlete, but they were saying, I'm training myself to be okay working out any time of day with whatever state that I'm in.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a little bit extreme. This person was a fairly elite CrossFitter at the time. And it did make me feel like, I think so many people put eating and timing and that sort of thing as a little bit of like a barrier or roadblock or even speed bump to working out. Like, if I'm not optimally fed before my workout, then I can't, what's the point? Well, there is a point. And you usually, when you start getting into a workout, I mean, if somebody's super low blood sugar and it's getting dangerous, and like, this is not my recommendation, but you can usually just start a workout and you'll probably be okay.
Yeah.
I always recommend just having some sort of snack on hand that you can quickly take in if you start feeling a little like dizzy or super hungry. That's never a great thing. But you're physiologically, biologically, we're ready to kind of go when we need to go.
Yeah, I mean, that's what cortisol does.
Yeah.
It's literally, that's the whole role of cortisol is.
So like, I wouldn't just freewheel it every single day and hope for the best. But
yeah, I mean, you're eventually going to get injured.
Yeah.
And burn out.
Usually, if you're well fed throughout the day, most days, you're going to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah. It does make the post, like the after workout recovery meal situation more important. And I would say that's true of if you can't optimize like before the before workout nutrition, and for whatever reason you don't like to take carbs during, like, that's fine. Plan C is like that post-workout thing that you do nutrition-wise is now of paramount importance. And again, like, if you don't nail it every time, whatever, it's fine. It's just a really good pattern to get into paying attention to, because you want to give your body what it needs. Remember, we're trying to like fuel what we're doing here, and we're not trying to deprive. And eating after a workout does a couple of things. There's not a magic window for protein. You're not more receptive to protein after workouts. It's just a good time to get it in if your routine is one that includes protein shakes. What you do have a window for, though, is carbs. So you're fairly sensitive to your insulin sensitivity is up after training. And so that means that your body's going to do a really good job at storing particularly carbohydrates, but along with carbohydrates, your body's also going to do a really good job storing literally anything else you give it. So protein, micronutrients. So even if you do a protein shake with some carbs, like within the 30-minute window after, if you can do a whole meal in like 90 minutes, and in that meal at the 90-minute timestamp after your workout, if that can include, really colorful fruits and vegetables that are high in micronutrients and vitamins and antioxidants and things like that, it's a good time to have it. Because your body's ready. It's sensitive. It's like going to do good shit with that if you give it to it in that window of time. So that's kind of, that's how that looks. And if you're really well fed into the workout, if you're one of those people and you can optimize that, then you can push that out a little bit.
If you're somebody who's doing 2 sessions in a day,
your again, it depends on the timing of those, but most often your post-workout meal and what you do in between, like after your first workout, automatically becomes pre-workout for the second one.
If it's back to back.
Well,
but let's say if you're working out at 7 a.m. and then again at 7 p.m., the post-workout carbs for session 1 become even more important.
Yeah, those are the ones that you want.
Yeah.
Like you can sort of forego after session 2. And again, if you pay attention to how you're feeling over time with that schedule, you'll know if you're doing a good job or not. But you don't want to skimp on post-workout number 1 because that will greatly impact your workout, your second workout.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, eat as much as you can during the day. That's what you want to do there. 2 workouts a day is really hard.
Yeah, it's just to kind of go back to the role of carbs. When you work out, you deplete glycogen stores, which is your body's stored energy. So in order to restock those stores for session 2, when it's either within a 12-hour window, or often for a lot of people, it's a little bit tighter, maybe before and after work, you really want to focus on restocking those glycogen stores as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And the best way to do it, as Meredith just said, is immediately after your workout.
Yeah. With simple carbs.
I would say that's probably one of the most important nutrient timing tips.
That's the only one that really matters.
Yeah.
Really. And that's like, even if you're just doing one session, you have such a unique opportunity there with post-workout carbs that it's foolish to not take advantage of that from a performance standpoint. It's like free money. Because your body's just like, it wants it back in the muscles. It's not likely to get stored as fat. Just like take advantage of that window, whatever you do. Okay, let's move on really quick. We can talk about supplements. The big one we've already kind of talked about is protein powder. And again, number 1, not necessary to take it. Number 2, not necessary to take it after a workout. Like we kind of adhere to a food first sort of a thing. But like protein, knowing that protein is really hard for a lot of people to get in just to meet their needs across the day as active people, protein powder and like protein supplements can become really, really valuable in that. And if it is easiest to have after a workout, have it after a workout. But there's no, again, like looking at the research, there's no difference between a person who is active and training and meeting their protein needs with food versus someone who's relying on whey protein supplements. It's just a matter of like what's easiest for you to do and what do you prefer.
Creatine.
Oh yeah, creatine.
We did a whole podcast on creatine
goes
too.
without saying.
I think it still stands as one of our best sciencey podcasts.
It is a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to dig deep on creatine and why it's just really great for literally everything, go listen to that one. A lot of women struggle to want to take it because they worry about the weight gain and the bloating. If it happens, it's transient. It tends to be something that is transitional, which means that you might experience a little bit of water retention at the like in the first week, but after that it'll go down. And you don't need to load it. It's like 4 to 5 grams a day for most people is fine. Also, if you get labs done, like if you go to the doctor and you're like, okay, well, I just started taking creatine or whatever, and you know that, and then you get labs done and they show you, they're like, oh, your creatinine's high. A lot of doctors don't understand that creatine and creatinine are not the same thing. So if that happens to you, what I would recommend, or if that has happened to you and it's resulted in you stopping creatine because you're like, well, it's affecting my kidney health. Creatine's not going to affect your kidney health as long as you have healthy kidneys. Number one, that's the same thing with a high protein diet. Ask them to repeat your labs, your blood work, but give it 48 hours. Like, don't work out or do anything super active within 48 hours of that blood work, and then see if your creatinine comes back high, because it probably won't. Because creatinine really is just like, if your muscle breaks down, which happens literally every single day that you work out, your creatinine is going to be high. And they're going to be like, oh my God, your kidneys, you need to stop taking creatine and lower your protein intake right away. It's horrible advice.
For people who struggle with GI issues and creatine, you can split the dose, and then also taking with food can be helpful as well. So you would take like 2.5 grams in the AM, 2.5 in the PM.
Or just
that can help.
Try to take it, just take it later in the day. A lot of people who struggle with creatine and GI, they're taking it first thing in the morning when they're super dehydrated, just because everyone's dehydrated in the morning. And it is one that is going to draw a lot of water. That's how it works, is it pulls water into your cells. And so it manipulates body water. And if you're dehydrated because you've been respiring for 8 or 9 hours without drinking anything, then it's likely that that's actually what's going on. So just try taking the whole dose at night and see if you have that same thing, because you probably won't. Yeah.
But then split the dose.
Oh, but then split the dose if you want. Yeah, that's fine. I like to experiment with a few. I like root cause analysis.
Okay.
Because even 2.5 grams in the morning might bother someone if it's dehydration. But then they're like, well, see, I can't even split the dose. And they never get to the evening because they're like, I just can't take creatine.
Fair. Okay.
You know?
Can creatine be consumed with coffee, and can it be consumed in a hot liquid?
Those are two. Yes. So with coffee or tea?
Yeah, with caffeine. And then separate to that, can you take it can it be in a liquid, like in a warm liquid?
Yeah. So it's just like a organic compound. Like, it's not going to, warm liquid doesn't denature creatine or anything.
I'm not
like that.
asking for me.
Yeah. I mean, your body's really warm. Really.
Yeah. So you can put it in coffee. Mm-hmm. You can also put it in coffee that contains, or any liquid that contains caffeine.
Yeah, so the whole thing with caffeine is that they're just looking at like what both of those molecules do in the body. And so creatine increases osmotic pressure in cells, it draws water in. Caffeine is a diuretic, so it does the opposite. So really you just have kind of like opposing forces going on. It doesn't mean that either one of those compounds is not going to work for like what people want from them. Caffeine is still going to be very effective stimulant. Creatine is still going to pull water in the cells. What might happen when you combine them is an increased risk of GI issues with those two things kind of trying to happen at once. Because a lot of people, I mean, you know, it's no secret. You take coffee and you go poo, right? Like, that's why a lot of people do it. So,
and because coffee's good.
Right. And it's delicious. But so I get back to the dehydration issue with GI. If dehydration is contributing to GI upset when someone takes creatine because of what it's doing with water, if you further dehydrate yourself by taking a diuretic and then you also take creatine, now you're like super dehydrated and you're taking something that's trying to pull water away from various places. So you're running a risk there. And again, it's not going to impact the long-term efficacy or anything like that. It just may deter you from wanting to take one or the other. And I think most people would choose caffeine over creatine. And that's really sad because they're both great. Just take your creatine at lunch or in the evening.
Right.
So let's do some common mistakes and myths around nutrition, just generally, and with regards to training and activity. So maybe fasting would be a good place to start. Do you want to start there?
Yeah. So what's the myth?
That fasted workouts are better.
Well,
so you should fast.
Okay. So we just already busted that myth.
Yes.
But I think a lot of people, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but burning fat and losing fat aren't the same thing.
Yeah.
So some people go into a fasted workout, fasted cardio, that's what you'll hear, because it is in your fat burning zone, or you'll be more likely to burn fat.
In the workout.
Yes. However, not only are you going to get a shitty workout, my opinion,
having to burn fat
because you're having to burn fat and you haven't eaten, but you're also, if you're not going to lose fat unless you've established a calorie deficit for the day. So it doesn't matter how long you work out fasted for to burn fat. If you're consuming more calories than you need, more calories going in than going out, again, there's nuance there, you're not going to lose body fat.
Yeah.
And your performance is going to decrease or not improve.
Yeah, I mean, so this myth kind of comes from research where they essentially, you can measure, basically you get people to exhale during their training to measure carbon dioxide, and the percent of carbon dioxide in a person's breath can help establish sort of where they're at. Like, what are we burning, more carbs or are we burning more fat? And it's almost always some combination of the two. So what they've observed is that when people train in a fasted state, which is easiest to do in the morning, because you are fasted and you can continue fasting. So when people train in a fasted state, when they measure like the exhaled breath, there is those people are burning a higher percentage of fat in training than people who are fed. And so it's easy to hear that and be like, oh, well, fasted training therefore is better for fat burning and I want to lose fat, so I'm going to do that. But like you said, the problem there is twofold. First of all, if you are using fat for your training, especially aerobic training, it takes double the amount of oxygen to mobilize and use fat to produce ATP when compared to glycogen. So
hence going back to why your body prefers carbs as a fuel source.
Yeah.
Energy source.
So you have to work harder. You have to be turning over more oxygen, higher heart rate, and still your output is going to be lower than if you were burning carbohydrates. There's also some shift that occurs if someone's eating a higher fat diet. You also see a higher percentage of fat burning and exercise generally at any time of day, which makes sense because your body burns what you give it. But that's aside from this bit of research. So that's where people get that myth. But what they miss is that, so these same researchers, and this is not just one study, there's lots of studies that have been done on this, will continue to measure people's breath and estimate their percentage and measure their percentage of substrate utilization, that percent of carbs and fat after training. And unsurprisingly, a person who trains fasted, burning more fat, they then eat, they then rely more heavily on carbohydrates later in the day. Like, so the same person just living, they see a shift up. So they're burning through glycogen at a higher rate than they're burning through fat, just moving through their day. You take the person who's fed in training, they're burning a higher amount of glucose in training, lower amount of fat. They eat, they go out about their day. What do you think they burn? What do you think they use more of during the day?
I'm going to go ahead and guess fat.
Fat. So that you burn more fat, you rely more heavily on fat after training if you're in a fed state.
Why?
It's almost like the body's like, nah, you can't fool me, homie. You know what I like? Homeostasis.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And both of those things are highly irrelevant when it comes to losing fat because that's a totally different thing. It's a totally different mechanism.
thing. It requires a calorie deficit.
Correct.
Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, because there will be a lot of people who will try to tell you otherwise.
They're just trying to distract you.
Or sell you a book.
Correct. And that goes right into the demonization of carbohydrates generally, I think, within the health space. I mean, demonizing carbs over fats. Although I grew up in the 90s, so I grew up in the we're demonizing fats era.
I know.
I know.
I don't know, actually.
What?
I think I had both. It depends on who you hung out with, whose parents.
Yeah.
Who was doing keto and who was doing...
I don't think keto was a thing. South Beach and Atkins were a thing.
Atkins, that's what I mean.
Yeah. There's so many stupid diets.
But then you could buy licorice and it says fat-free.
Yeah.
So that was okay.
You're like, no, this is healthy. It's good. It's fine. It's so confusing. Health marketing is wild.
It really is. Really, you come out of it thinking both fat and carbs are bad.
You're like, so I don't know what to eat. I think I'm just going to go into Subway and take some deep breaths and call it a day.
And that's how the carnivore diet was born.
We have to eat just protein. But you eat so much fat on carnivore.
That's true.
I don't know.
Oh,
it's
so true.
like also stupid. It's circular. You need all three of them. There's no point in demonizing them. And there's not a single macro that contributes specifically or in a more specific way to body weight. I don't know. Body composition. Sure. Really, if you're eating in the right window for calories and your macronutrient ratios are reasonable and you're training, you're probably going to be happy with that in the long run. So it's like this sort of constant manipulation and trying to hack the system and figure out the shortcut. You lose sight of what it is that you even need as a baseline. I think that's the part that people skip, is they don't spend any amount of time assessing what they're currently doing. What are your natural eating patterns? How much do you need? Because the best way to figure out actually how much you need, I know that there are so many calculators online, and I'm not saying that those are useless or totally inaccurate, but you're already eating every single day. You can figure out what that is. You can average out over 2 weeks, what am I doing on average? And then from there, just make some reasonable changes. You don't have to know what the answer is to know in what direction you want to go. And then once you start going that direction, it will become pretty clear if it's the right direction.
Yeah. I think the best way to kind of summarize a lot of this is calories impact body weight. Macros impact body composition and performance.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that because I think protein really impacts body comp. And carbs and fat, the ratios there can really impact performance, as we said. What you're taking in during workouts, pre-workout, post-workout, and just kind of as a baseline can have an impact. But if you're just somebody who's an average person who cares about having muscle mass for health, then making sure you're getting in enough protein and then just kind of letting fats and carbs fall as they fall, keeping calories where they need to be for your goals, then you're fine. Most people don't need to track carbs and fat and make sure that those are exactly on target every single day if you're tracking macros.
Right.
Or just aware of what your intake is. And then micronutrients impact, again, in quote, health. It's kind of, there's kind of a hierarchy, but also kind of which directly impacts which the most.
They're concurrent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then supplements are just kind of again, supplemental.
Yeah. I would say it's easy.
And timing, supplements and timing.
We can do square rectangle argument here, because you can definitely, you can focus on calories and be just out of the ballpark on macros, which is, not a useless thing to do.
And that's common. Again, if we're talking about macros, somebody who doesn't pay any attention to their nutrition and has a healthy body weight, likes where they're at with their body weight, they could be eating so many grams of fat and carbs and so little protein, but technically within a healthy range on body weight.
Yeah, and for maybe even within range on calorie intake.
Mm-hmm.
My point was that if you are, so it's easy to have an idea of calories but not be super productive with macros. I'd say it's hard to be super productive with macros and not be at least like kind of in the ballpark of calories.
Yeah.
So you can understand why people go towards macros as like a tool, because it sort of checks both boxes. They're just so hard to do. Like, it's hard to do that for a long time.
Yeah.
So I tend to use the tool for as like the smallest amount of time you possibly can. I think most people, if you can do 2 numbers, you don't even have to track your calories.
Protein and fiber.
Protein and fiber.
Yeah.
I think if you can come close on protein and be at like 35 grams a day on fiber, 35 to 40, you're going to be golden.
And the reason for that is because protein is highly satiating. It's hard to digest. It's filling. It also requires you to focus on your diet. Protein is not convenient. So to get in enough protein, you're prepping your meals, you're eating breakfast, you're doing all those things. And then fiber requires a huge focus on food quality. So fruits, vegetables, whole grains, all that stuff, unless you're eating some like crazy high, like fibrous wrap, which
Still,
I'm like
those are hard to get down.
And those are also super filling
Yeah.
and satiating.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're eating 35 grams of fiber a day, you're probably going to, and whatever 0.8 grams per pound of goal body weight, you're probably going to be feeling pretty full.
Yeah.
That, honestly, that cookie, and I have nothing against cookies, I love them, you might not be craving them as much.
Yeah.
As a result.
Well, and that's, you have a more stable, you have better blood glucose regulation. Like that's something that's greatly impacted by both fiber and protein intake. And you're probably feeling pretty solid. You're not going to be like, I don't want to eat a T-bone, a fatty steak if I'm full up on lentils. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's like, from a basic sort of health nutrition standpoint. But
Remember you went on a lentil kick once.
I go on a lentil kick about every 2 years. I do the lentil, the yogurt sauce. Like, I get really into lentils, and then it's just like all of a sudden I'm like, that's enough lentils.
That's too many lentils. I'm too full all the time.
Reached my 2-year quota for lentils in a period of 3 weeks.
And then the dry bag of lentils sits there for over a year, and then I'm like, okay, I'm throwing these out.
Yeah.
Then you buy another one.
Yeah. I'm going to do red lentils this time. Take those tips if you're training. Obviously, be mindful of that protein or that fiber where it is in your day if you can. But again, like, don't sweat it if you can't nail the timing. All of this is rolling average stuff. Like, it's every single day doesn't need to be clean. Every single day doesn't need to have the exact same timing. Every single day doesn't need to have the exact same meal breakdown. If you eat a big ass pre-workout meal and then your workout gets canceled because something comes up, don't panic. Just eat normal. You don't need to modify or manipulate. Like, we need to decouple calorie intake from exercise. We're not earning anything. Mm-hmm. It's like all of it's rolling average. Your body's way too smart to be making manipulations on a single day.
Yeah.
There's like this app that I saw, I think it's called Fuelin, and it syncs with training peaks. And so it looks at your training that you have scheduled for the day, and it tells you exactly what to eat. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing that I have ever seen.
That sounds so stressful.
And what a horrible mindset to get people into.
It's kind of like RP.
It's exactly like RP.
Yeah. Remember that post we did that was still one of our best nutrition posts, why you shouldn't eat less on your rest day.
Yeah.
And it's not that you shouldn't eat more on training days, but you shouldn't eat less on your rest day.
Yeah. You should kind of just eat around the same most days, unless you're doing like ultra training or, 7-hour bike rides or stuff. Those get treated different. If you're training 2 hours or less per day, just, be cool. Don't be weird about it.
Be adaptable. Consistency is about being adaptable.
Yeah. Pay attention to how your body, like, probably the biggest tip is really to like get in the habit of paying attention to how you feel. Like, don't try to understand how you feel through an app. Don't try to understand, like, don't outsource that knowing. Like, develop that inner knowledge. Pretend like you live in 1987 and there's no devices that can track anything for you. You have to pay attention to it yourself. There's no internet, there's no Reddit, there's no Instagram. It's just you and your goals and your food and how you feel. So learning how to pay attention and track how you feel, how your performance is going, which is a hell of a lot easier if you're on a progressive program like ours, and, make very small nutrition changes as you go so you understand the impact of what's going on, and you can get off this like roller coaster of just trying to overhaul everything once every 6 to 8 weeks. That's all. The end. Thank you for listening. I'm just kidding.
I was like, whoa, I like that. You should sign off with that one day. Just cut.
Be like, whoa, aggressive. That really is kind of it, though. I think, that's the basics. Did we miss anything?
I mean, I'm sure there's questions, but people can just hire us and ask them.
They're like, I'm sure. What about alcohol? Don't ask that.
Yeah.
Don't, we don't have to say it.
Yeah.
Be smart.
Yeah.
We did a podcast on that too. You can go find it. All these old podcasts are coming back. I'm going to link them all in the show
What about
notes.
seed oils?
Don't. We will do a different episode on seed oils. I don't want to get into it. I'm in a good mood and I don't want to be not in a good mood. So, and that's not because seed oils are bad. Just, spoiler alert. Gosh, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, Alex. You continue to be my favorite guest on this show. I'm so glad you keep coming back.
Sometimes these sciencey episodes, I guest would be the one that talks more. So I don't think I am a guest. Maybe I'm the host.
Yeah. Am I the guest?
I think you might be.
Well, you're my favorite host. It's weird for the guest to be the one that has the laptop and the recording software, though. So we should get on that.
Yeah.
You guys, I hope you found this helpful. I hope that you found this insightful. I hope that if you're new to listening to us, you're not like, who the hell are these two? I mean, honestly, if you're still here, thank you.
No, they're saying, who the hell are these two? I need to learn more about them.
And you can do that. You can find us at Hey Team Tactic on Instagram. Our websites are tacticmethod.com and tacticworksout.com. Check out the Back to Basics Strength and Conditioning episode if you haven't listened to that one. That's just all about kind of what a horrible job I did just there. It's all about strength and conditioning and why we think that's a great place to start. And it's kind of the linchpin for a lot of people.
And sign up for our program.
It's a good one.
It's the sponsor of this podcast. And thank you to our company for sponsoring this podcast.
Thank you, Tactic. Thank you for buying me the new camera I haven't told Alex about yet. Okay, bye. I'm just kidding. I didn't buy a camera. Thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, share this. It means a lot. We'll catch you on the next one.
Our next podcast will be recapping the fight that we had after we record this podcast.
Okay, bye for real.